Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Homelessness and housing dominated the KPBS San Diego mayoral debate. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Todd Gloria and Larry Turner discussed efforts to expand shelter options and address the housing shortage. KPBS reporter Katie Anastas has highlights from last night's event.
More than 600 indoor shelter beds are set to close by the end of the year. Mayoral candidate Larry Turner says he'd stop that from happening.
On day one, we got to put tourniquets on all the beds that we're losing. You know, he has had temporary Band-Aid approaches to this. Many of these beds are going to be gone in January.
The beds are at 2 shelters set to close. Turner didn't say how he would stop them from closing.
There was no plan in that answer just a moment ago.
The city is responding to the anticipated loss of beds by expanding campgrounds for people experiencing homelessness. Critics say the campground's amenities and case management are inadequate. City council members say it's better than nothing while the city seeks locations for new shelters.
They're not beds. He's changed the definition of that to where living in a parking lot or living in your car is something that is an opportunity. That's not helping homeless people.
Our data shows that over 80% of the folks who are accessing our safe sleeping sites are accessing our homeless shelter system for the very first time. This is helping us to reach folks who we've never been previously able to bring in off the streets, surround them with the services to diagnose the underlying causes of their homelessness, and then help us address it.
The candidates also debated San Diego's unsafe camping ordinance, which prohibits tent camping in public areas.
We don't have enough police to go out there and contact them 4 times before we take enforcement.
What I've discovered is a real inconsistency, a really chaotic approach to this issue from my opponent here, who opposed the grant's past decision saying that it criminalizes homelessness. But he's here tonight telling you that he wants to end our progressive enforcement model, something that he should know is not possible to do because it's the subject of a piece of legal settlement.
Gloria points to a drop in the monthly count of homeless people downtown as a sign of success. But advocates for the homeless say many people are just being moved outside of the city limits. The candidates also discussed potentially allowing homeowners to sell their accessory dwelling units. Gloria says he supports the idea.
I'm going to always use an all-of-the-above approach to try and build more housing that is attainable to working and middle-class people.
Turner opposes it. He says the city should focus on lowering prices of existing housing instead.
Every place you go to in the city, if you drive around, you'll see is leasing. There's spaces there. The problem is it's not affordable. So to just continue to build more in the hopes that it's just going to lower the prices, that's not happening here in San Diego.
Turner and Gloria also debated public safety, infrastructure, and city finances. A recording of the full debate is on our website, kpbs.org. Katie Anastas, KPBS News.
And you can watch the San Diego mayoral debate in full at kpbs.org, or you can stream it on our YouTube page.
Our hot days, they continue, unfortunately, right through the weekend. It's part of this high pressure system that's sitting in place and just creating so much of the heat for our region. I'll break down if we can try to see any changes in the days to come.
Workers at San Diego's most iconic hotel are deciding today whether to authorize a strike. The Hotel Del Coronado could see employees walk off the job at the beginning of November. The union, Unite Here Local 30, represents dishwashers, housekeepers, bellmen, and other employees at the Hotel Del. Workers are demanding better pay and more manageable workloads.
The workers really love working here. It's a very special place, but unfortunately, they can't afford to live in San Diego on the money that they're making. The majority of our members make around $24 an hour, and they have rent that's $2,000 up to $3,000 a month. They just can't afford it.
Management could not be reached for comment. The vote today is just to authorize a strike. If workers approve it, the union could call a strike on November 1st when the contract expires. The Hotel Del Coronado is managed by the Bayfront Hilton, where employees have been on strike for 34 days.
we're very excited to be back. It means that they can provide, put food on the table, pay their bills. They don't have to worry anymore of possibly losing their cars or their homes or anything like that.
And as one potential strike looms, another ends. Port workers are off the picket line and back at work today. The union tentatively agreed to extend its contract with the Maritime Alliance to January 15th after it expired on Monday. The agreement includes an annual $4 per hour raise for the 6-year contract. It still needs to be completed and ratified by union members. President Joe Biden this week expanded his crackdown on asylum seekers at the southern border. Democrats credit the new measures for a big drop in illegal crossings. But KPBS reporter Gustavo Solis says legitimate asylum seekers are being sent back to dangerous situations.
Apprehensions along the southern border have dropped dramatically since June. That's when President Joe Biden announced a series of executive actions that have all but blocked asylum for people who cross the border illegally. And leading up to the presidential election, Vice President Kamala Harris and her campaign surrogates are pointing to lower numbers as proof of their tough on border security bona fides. Here is Democratic San Diego Congressman Mark Levin.
But really, in the last couple months, things have gotten much better. 48% reduction across the southern border.
The executive actions subject adults who cross the border illegally to a fast-track deportation process. Those who claim that sending them back home will put their lives at risk now have to pass a higher legal standard to establish a credible fear. The administration says that Biden's new rules are meant to weed out fraudulent asylum claims. But critics say that they've actually created a chaotic system in which people who would have had solid asylum claims just a few months ago are being deported to dangerous situations.
So there are a lot of factors of why we're seeing numbers down, and it's not because people don't need help. It is because the people that need help are being literally blocked.
Margaret Cargioli is with the Immigrant Defenders Law Center. She says the new process is rushed. It doesn't give migrants access to lawyers or enough time to prepare their cases.
People are being processed and interviewed a lot more quickly than before. As we know, the standards for being able to pass these credible fear interviews has been heightened.
The new process has sometimes left migrants detained in makeshift holding facilities. One of Cargioli's clients had to struggle with shoddy cell phone reception during her interview.
I was on another call where the asylum officer repeatedly asked my client to please, speak up. We couldn't hear, it was quite a few times. So there's those issues as well. And just the fact that it's just an interview over the phone, they're not allowed to present evidence, to have witnesses.
She says this new process results in questionable decisions, including family separation. Consider the plight of Angie, an indigenous woman who fled Colombia with her husband earlier this summer.
En Colombia salimos siendo víctimas de violencia y desplazamiento forzado.
Angie says she and her husband were persecuted in Colombia because they're both indigenous. The couple faced violent threats from guerrilla groups trying to take their land.
No gustaban de mi forma de verme, a que ellos eran diferente color y yo también.
They crossed the border illegally last summer and turned themselves in to Border Patrol agents in San Diego. The two were separated in custody, and even though they fled under identical circumstances, Angie was able to pursue her asylum claim while her husband was deported.
Últimamente he tenido como pesadillas. Sí, como me siento cansada. Como pesadillas y trato y me despierto muchas veces en la noche.
She says she hasn't been sleeping or eating lately, and she's constantly crying. Long-standing U.S. law explicitly says that anyone present in the country can apply for asylum, irrespective of how they entered the U.S. The ACLU and other advocacy groups have sued the Biden administration, claiming his new rules violate that law. Meanwhile, in the waning days of the election, Vice President Harris is doubling down on Biden's policies.
And if someone does not make an asylum request at a legal point of entry and instead crosses our border unlawfully, they will be barred from receiving asylum.
Immigrant advocates are dismayed by what they describe as a dramatic shift to the right.
If the border policy is meant to have no one have asylum, irrespective of what they suffered, then that's kind of the results we're getting.
Emily Robinson is an immigration lawyer based in Los Angeles. She's representing a Colombian woman who was kidnapped and sexually molested multiple times by multiple men.
less than a week after her last gang rape, traveling between her home country of Colombia to the U.S. She was given less than 48 hours until she had her first credible fear interview.
Under normal circumstances, the woman could have been given more time to process her trauma, meet with her lawyer, and maybe even a therapist before that interview.
Usually when you have clients with this kind of trauma, if you're representing them, you want to create a safe space that they feel comfortable sharing this information with you.
The asylum officer found her client's story credible, but denied her request to pursue an asylum claim because they didn't believe that she belonged to a persecuted group. Robinson is appealing the decision, but as things stand now, her client will be sent back to Colombia. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
CAL FIRE is keeping an eye on a fire burning in Mexico near the border fence. At last check, it had grown to 50 acres in Baja California, southeast of Campo. Firefighters responded to put out small brush fires on the U.S. side. There are no reports of damage or of any injuries.
I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the News Hour, the Deputy Treasury Secretary on the latest jobs report and the broader U.S. economy. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
San Diego Union High School District recently announced it is conducting an independent audit of all foundations associated with the district. This comes after 2 students at Canyon Crest Academy published a report questioning the practices at their high school foundation. KPBS North County reporter Alexander Wen spoke to those students who say they are happy the district is taking the issue seriously.
They were kind of skeptical.
Kevin Wang and Latong Tian are high school seniors at Canyon Crest Academy. Over the summer, they collaborated on an investigation into the nonprofit Canyon Crest Academy Foundation, a nonprofit that fundraises to enrich the experiences of every student every day. Wang was the treasurer for the school's robotics team his sophomore year and noticed some irregularities in the foundation's bookkeeping.
And what I saw in those records were pretty disturbing. For some years, they would take excess of $15,000 alone at the end of the year from the robotics team, the CCA Foundation.
The pair found that the foundation charges students' clubs significantly higher fees than similar school foundations. CCAF charges 25%, while other school foundations charge between 5 to 10%. The two also found that more than a third of CCAF spending was categorized as other expenses,
which amounted to about $700,000 last year, was their single largest expense, and we just don't know where that money is going, and we believe that's a reason for concern.
The pair published their findings on ravensfortransparency.org. The report was well received by the community, but the two said the response by the school's administration was overwhelmingly negative.
Around 2 days after I initially released the report, or we initially released the report, I was pulled out of class in the middle of the day and sent to the principal's office, where he essentially tried to intimidate me into taking down the report because we slandered the school, supposedly.
In light of the document, the CCA Foundation's shady practices, incompetence, and secrecy, I sincerely hope the district will take immediate action to conduct a proper, transparent investigation into these allegations.
After an emergency board meeting last week, the district announced it would conduct an audit to ensure that all foundation practices connected to the district are legally sound and transparent. The district declined to comment, and the foundation disputed the students' findings but did not offer any specifics. The students say the audit announcement was vindication, but hope that the audit process will be transparent. Alexander Wen, KPBS News.
A major win for the U.S. labor market as Lee Waldman reports today's release of the September jobs report surpassed expectations.
After a disappointing jobs report in July and August, September is one to remember.
When workers do well, the economy is stronger, the nation is stronger, and this jobs report is an example of that.
U.S. job growth surged last month. Employers added an estimated 254,000, according to data released Friday by the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, much higher than August's monthly total. On top of the jobs added, the unemployment rate dropped from 4.2% to 4.1%. Acting Secretary of Labor Julie Su says this latest jobs report isn't a declaration of victory, but rather a declaration of progress 4 years after the start of the pandemic.
Real wages continue to be up, inflation rate and the interest rate are going down, and all of this is a sign of a historic and unprecedented economic recovery.
The jobs report comes just weeks after the Federal Reserve decided to cut interest rates by half a percentage point, indicating an elusive soft landing could be reached. Lael Brenner, the White House National Economic Advisor, suggested even with this positive jobs report, another rate cut could be on the horizon.
We are seeing that inflation has come back down and interest rates have been falling. And today we saw the jobs market continues to expand. That's very, very good progress.
Lee Waldman, KPBS News.
Vice presidential candidate and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is making a campaign stop in San Diego. Walz is traveling to California and Washington for a series of fundraising events on behalf of the Harris Victory Fund. It all kicks off here in San Diego on Sunday afternoon. Then he'll head to Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, Seattle, and Sacramento over the next few days. Well, mail ballots are going out now to San Diego County's more than 1.9 million registered voters. If you're looking for more information to make your decision, you can check out the KPBS Voter Hub, and that launches Monday in English and also in Spanish. There will be information on some voting locations, election explainers, and a lot more of our coverage. You can look for that link right there on our homepage, kpbs.org. When mothers can't produce enough breast milk, pasteurized donor milk is the best alternative for premature babies. But it isn't always accessible or affordable. KPBS health reporter Heidi DeMarco looks into the new law that seeks to simplify the process.
Teresa Culver's son, Joseph, was born 5 weeks early. He was sent to the NICU right after birth.
From the time he was born, he was on the donor milk. I was only producing maybe 0.1 milliliters, or it was like that much.
Joseph relied on donor breast milk until Culver's own supply came in.
The first time I heard about it was when I was in labor and delivery.
Donor milk comes from screened lactating mothers. It's processed and distributed to hospitals and families when needed. But even when prescribed, it can cost up to $5 per ounce if not covered by insurance. And some hospitals may not even have it in stock. A new law is aiming to change that.
So AB 3059, which was just signed into law by Governor Newsom, really helps eliminate some of the barriers for equitable donor milk access. One is to ensure commercial coverage of donor milk.
Allison Wolf is the executive director of the UC Health Milk Bank. She says the new law ensures that donor milk is recognized as an essential health benefit, aligning it with Medi-Cal coverage.
And then the second part is eliminating the tissue bank license for hospitals. And so some of the small rural safety net hospitals that don't have a donor milk program in their NICU will now be able to have one.
Wolf says the $1,000 annual license fee has been a barrier for some rural hospitals. She hopes the law raises awareness about the life-saving potential of donor milk.
You might be hesitant to accept it, not understanding all these safety steps, the screening, the processing, the testing that goes into it.
11 weeks after giving birth to Joseph, Culver is donating her breast milk for the first time.
My baby's doing so well, and I want all moms to be able to say that too.
The law will take effect in January 2025. Heidi DeMarco, KPBS News.
Some unfortunate news for Padres fans going into the National League Division Series against the Dodgers. The Padres announced today Joe Musgrove will undergo Tommy John surgery to treat a UCL injury in his right elbow. Musgrove started in Game 2 of the wild card series against the Atlanta Braves, but left at the top of the fourth inning with right elbow tightness. According to MLB.com, the typical recovery time from Tommy John surgery is 12 to 18 months. Local bars and businesses are ready to welcome in Padres fans looking for a cool place to watch the games this weekend. Businesses across the county say they are seeing a boost thanks to October baseball. The owner of Eastbound in Lakeside says he even bought a new TV for viewing. He encourages fans to let him foot the AC bill and enjoy the game.
SDG&E bills are at an all-time high, so let us pay the air conditioning bill for you. Come in and we have a really cool inside and then a cool patio outside during the evening when it finally does cool off. And we got the misters out and stuff like that. And again, just cold beer keeps everything cool.
So Game 1 of the NLDS is Saturday at 5:38, and that's in LA. Game 2 is on Sunday. There will also be watch parties in Gallagher Square. Tickets are $5. And here's the full schedule for the next round. Petco Park will host Game 3 on Tuesday and Game 4 Wednesday if necessary. Game 5, if necessary, will be at Dodger Stadium. The winner will advance to the National League Championship Series, the last step before the World Series.
I wish I could offer some more changes, but it's going to be a long haul until we really break this pattern, at least for the next 3 days or so. We're talking about more of that heat sticking around with us. And in fact, in some spots, we're going up in the numbers because the marine layer is lessening on us. Less of a marine layer means that it's going to be warmer for the coast and inland communities. So expect those numbers to increase here as we go through Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Then through next week, it's a process, but we're slow to try to cool heading into the later part of next week. And it's not going to be anything substantial here as far as knocking down the numbers by a long shot, but at least we'll try to get closer to historical average. For us tonight, though, it's 64 in the city as you head towards Escondido, 59 degrees. Mount Laguna coming in at 62 for the low. As we transition through tomorrow, we already know it's in place. The excessive heat warnings, the heat advisories, they're there for us again through the weekend and in some spots even into early next week. So the numbers are varied depending on where you are, but we're at 76 for the high as we head through tomorrow in San Diego. Meanwhile, Chula Vista at 76, Ramona at 96 for the day, and Borrego Springs headed to 109 for that high. So it is going to be hot in so many spots here. Just take a look at the coastal communities. Sunday, Monday, the numbers are really up there back into the mid 80s. As we lose some of that marine layer, that's what's going to make the influence there for Sunday and Monday. We should add a few more clouds back into the mix for Tuesday and Wednesday, so that's why we can see those numbers come back down, that marine layer having a little bit more of an impact on us. Inland communities, though, Saturday, the heat begins and it sticks with us right through Monday into the mid 90s. If you're in those mountain communities, the numbers are holding on to the 70s. We don't see much of a change here, nor do we see much of a change in the deserts where we're still holding on to the 100+ range in so many spots. Like I said, later next week, we could find some more relief back closer to historical average. For KPBS News, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Melissa Constancer.
And if you're looking for another way to beat the heat this weekend, how about a cold beer or two? Oktoberfest is underway in La Mesa. This is the 51st year of the event and will feature fan favorite events like the dog races and fashion show. And the Ferris wheel is back after 3 years.
What's great about La Mesa Oktoberfest, it's not just with beer gardens, they're all ages. So your family can come, your friends with kids can come. So we have a bunch of Ferris wheel, we have a big kids area, we added a pumpkin patch this year for everyone. And we also have the dog races, the dash hound races. So we're super excited about that.
And don't forget those great pretzels, too. Admission is free and the event is open to all ages. La Mesa Oktoberfest continues tomorrow from 10 in the morning to 10 at night and wraps up on Sunday from noon to 8 p.m. San Diego's Department of Animal Services is celebrating furry friends that have crossed the Rainbow Bridge with a Dia de los Muertos altar. KPBS reporter Tanya Thorne says the celebration could present an adoption or foster opportunity.
Dia de los Muertos is a Mexican tradition that celebrates loved ones that are no longer here with us, and that includes our pets.
Pictures of dogs and cats fill the ofrenda at the Carlsbad Department of Animal Services.
My cat, her name is Lucy. This is her, and she passed away. She was 17 and a half years old, so she was an old lady at her time.
John Adudi with the department says staff had the idea to celebrate the pets that once warmed their owners' hearts and laps.
It's a nice way for staff, our volunteers, and the community members to come and bring photos of their beloved pets, kind of celebrate them, honor them, and hopefully they can come and visit us as well and see our available animals available for adoption.
Similar to many shelters throughout the county, Duty says they are experiencing a high volume of animals up for adoption. Anywhere from puppies to kittens, and even rabbits and pigs.
We just have a lot of animals that are available. We just took a look at our inventory and we have over 150 dogs, well over 200 animals, and a lot of them have some really great personalities, and maybe they'll be a good fit for you or your family.
All pets from the county's Department of Animal Services come spayed, neutered, and could include food and accessories. Duty says if adoption isn't an option now, fostering and volunteering are always other ways of giving back.
A lot of volunteer opportunities. You can come and walk dogs. You can interact with cats. We also have a Dog's Day Out program, so that if you want to take a dog just for a few hours, maybe you take it to a park, through a shopping area, the beach even.
Duty adds the department will be waiving adoption fees by mentioning their Dia de los Muertos pet celebration.
And the County of San Diego Department of Animal Services is inviting the public to bring in pictures of their pets that are no longer with them. And they can drop those off through the end of the month at the Carlsbad location and Bonita. Reporting from Carlsbad, Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
KPBS is organizing a digital community altar where you can share a memory of someone that you wish to remember. Visit kpbs.org/Day of the Dead to fill out our form, or you can use the QR code that you can see on your screen right now, and you can share an audio clip, a video, text, and a photograph. The deadline to submit is October 23rd. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.